Good morning and welcome to our 2026 predictions, brunch and learn. I'm Becky Sims. I'm founder here at the Human First Collective, and I have got some wonderful people joining me today to answer all of your questions. And thank you so much for so many questions that have already come in today. If you want to ask more questions, you can pop them in the chat and they will magically appear on my iPad so that I can put them to the people and get the answers for you. If there's any questions we don't get to today, we will be able to follow up with you on email. So just thank you so much. So let me first of all introduce Human First Collective. So Human First Collective is made up of Reflect Digital, a performance marketing agency that's here to unleash your potential. So we combine human behavior insights with our deep understanding of how digital channels work to make sure that we can find your audience in the right place at the right time with the right message. And then we have Lab with us today. So a digital experience and technology agency who believe technology without human understanding means nothing. So we're good friends in this place. We like human behavior. Now, hopefully, if you ordered a brunch box, you'll have received it. So feel free to tuck in. Thank you so much to Erin and Lucy and Lulu for helping get those out. If you didn't get one, you need to be quicker. So you have to sign up early. So keep your eye out. And actually today at the end, I'm going to announce our next brunch and learn. So you can get in really early and get your brunch box secured. So we want today to be interactive. So pop those questions in. Muted standard view is going to give you the best experience. Now, me and my fellow colleagues have embraced Christmas today. We all have our Christmas jumpers on, don't we? Don't they all look fabulous? So we are doing this to raise money for Save the Children as part of Christmas Jumper Day. And we thought it would be a bit of fun to add a bit of excitement to today. So every time we say AI, another pound goes in the box. That one didn't count, by the way. So every time we say that word, a pound goes in the box. Now, you at home have the opportunity for us to double our money that goes to charity if you can keep count as well. So once we kick off in a minute, keep tally as we go through. And then at the very end of today, I'm going to come back to you and get Erin to put a question into the channel so that we can see who got the number right. If you counted the same amount as our team, then we will double our money to charity. So that sounds like fun. And I've got a feeling we might end up earning quite a lot for Save the Children today. So yeah, just a bit of fun for Christmas. So I'm going to get my wonderful panel to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start down the line with Matt here. Matt, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Matt. I'm the innovation and automation lead at Reflect Digital. So I look at how we can incorporate technology, AI, automation into the stuff that we do every day, but also how we can help elevate what the clients are able to achieve as well.
Fabulous. And we have started counting. So that was one for your first tally. Over to Charlotte.
Thanks, Becky. Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm head of paid media here at Reflect Digital. I have worked in paid media across many agencies across London and New York. I've worked on paid media campaigns and strategies, anywhere from very small investment companies through to Gucci. Most recently, I was in-house at one of the UK's biggest job boards, leading the digital marketing function there. And I think from my time in recruitment, I've really developed a passion for building a team of a variety of skill sets. And I see my role as amplifying their voices and their expertise.
Wonderful. And over to Mike.
Thank you. So I'm Mike. I'm tech director at Lab. I've been working in the technology space for about 25 years and in web for about the last 15. I have a real passion for technology and understanding how it can be used to enhance digital experiences, connect the dots between different kind of disparate systems to understand and get a holistic view of the data in there and really solve business challenges. And that's essentially what I do at Lab at the moment.
And Lottie.
So I'm Lottie, I'm Director of Behavioural Science and Innovation across the Human First Collective. And essentially my team's role is to help brands better understand their audience insights, their market intelligence and their customer journeys to supercharge their customer experience essentially on site. My background is across lots of different sectors really, from retail, B2B, finance, law, pretty much all of the exciting different sectors that are available. So yeah, really excited today to talk about lots of variety of topics.
Amazing. And we do have some good questions. So we're going to dive in, just so you know, format for today. I'm going to keep us going till about 10 to. We're then going to ask you for feedback. If you've not been to one of our Brunch and Learns before, we always give you time to give us feedback in the session because we know that means you're more likely to do it than if you go and get on with your day. But you have to stay behind because we're going to have a killer question that's going to happen after the feedback. And and you get to find out if we double our money. So I'm going to keep us going till 10 to, but make sure you're thinking about any feedback that will help us and any sessions you would like to hear next year, because we're in planning session at the moment. So let's get started with our first question. So this came in from Rachel Collins at Cripps. Thank you so much, Rachel. So, I'm going to add a pound to the pot. How do you think that AI is going to affect the marketing space in 2026? And I'm going to send this straight over to Lottie to get us started.
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, I think the kind of integration of AI into the market space, obviously we talk a lot about kind of internal efficiencies, etc. But actually, I think from a personalisation perspective, it's going to have a massive sort of game change for a lot of brands. So we've been talking for many years about how important personalisation is to consumers, what expectations they have around personalisation in their customer journey. But the practicalities of that can be quite challenging when you're talking about multiple personas, multiple points in the customer journey that people are coming to a site or a digital product to engage. So I think that's going to be where there's a real opportunity to engage AI in a way that enables us to actually roll out that personalisation in a more scalable format.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And I think customers will welcome this so much. I had an experience of this yet. Well, I've had an experience over the last month. So my team will know I keep mentioning I'm going on holiday next week. I'm going on holiday next week. But I won't mention the travel brand. But they keep sending me emails asking me if I would like to upgrade my flights, which I actually would. I'd like premium economy, but they've sold out. They'd sold out when I first booked it. And they keep asking me the same question, which is a really poor customer experience, because that's not even personalized to actually their own availability. So actually they're creating this grating experience where a customer's like, well, maybe they've got availability now. And no, they haven't. They're just sending a standard email that they must send to everyone on every holiday that involves a flight. And it's like, that's poor experience. So I think as customers, we're going to be grateful. And as marketers, we're going to be excited because we can do so much more with it. Any other predictions then around that word?
Avoid the
Any more predictions around AI?
I think personalization is one aspect, and you almost flip that. And I think it will become a lot more personal in the way that people use it. And I think we've started to see that shift now where, as Lottie said, it's not so much about these big, overarching, massive things. I think people are starting to focus down onto what does my day-to-day look like? How's that going to be impacted by efficiencies here and there, sort of 5 minutes saved there, 20 minutes saved there. And it will just become sort of habit. And we've started to see that with usage as well, in terms of the numbers from ChatGPT and Gemini are starting to align in terms of usage. And I think, yeah, it will become sort of everyone's personal taste in terms of how they use it and deploy it.
Definitely. Mike, any kind of predictions around how it's affecting kind of the technical side of people building websites and products and...
Yeah, so I think with the rise of things like vibe coding, people that haven't had coding experience are able to get some of their ideas articulated better, rather than just kind of a wireframe or a high fidelity something in Figma. People are within teams are able to create something that's more interactive and kind of gets them to where they kind of see a bit quicker. Whereas before you need a developer or you need someone from a design capacity to be able to do a lot of that work for you. So it's able to get that kind of proof of concept, that MVP or that kind of initial idea closer quicker. So I think some of the things like that, obviously from a development side of things, obviously we're using it in terms of how we develop and how we are more efficient and spend more of our time thinking about the solution rather than just coding lines of code. Things like QA, all these kind of things have been helped by the advent of AI now.
Love that. Is there a worry with the vibe coding side of things that people start to things that should just be a test and an internal start becoming things that they're using, thinking that that's good enough?
Yeah, it's an important distinction that something that is an MVP or a POC rather, a proof of concept, never makes it to production. Like there's inherent issues probably in that in terms of that code. It's enough for you to play with and to get your idea across, but in terms of then that being secure, like compliant, scalable, like you need then a team to be able to build something fundamentally that is able to do that. So it's important that you can't just hack something together and think that will do, let's ship it, because that's going to end up in a world of hurt.
Definitely. And I think that is an important message, especially because I think lots of people are hearing like how much easier it is, and you're probably going to have senior teams going out there, well, surely we can do this quicker and cheaper. Well, we still need to be sure, like, yes, you can get your proof of concept out, but to ensure it's actually safe and ready for launch and not biased, because we know that the AI can be inherently biased. So we want to make sure that this has actually been built for the audience it's meant to serve.
Exactly. And fundamentally understanding the code that is within there there. If you don't understand what you're creating, then you have no idea of the flaws that might be in there.
Exactly, exactly. Right, let's have a look. Another question. So, yeah, I guess leading on from that, because it's kind of similar. So, Duncan at Station Group, thank you for your question. What's the biggest data and privacy opportunity or threat that you see in 2026? And I'm going to start with Matt on that one.
I think a big one for me is the increasing use and sort of not necessarily deployment of, because I think it's still very, very early days, but as people start to create their own versions, by coded or whatever, of agentic tools in AI specifically. I'm talking mainly around like browsers, because I think that's where we store a lot of credit card information. We store a lot of personal information in Google Chrome or whatever. And as those agentic capabilities start to come in, Perplexity has Comet now, which is its own standalone browser. All of those things are powered by LLMs, and we know how difficult it can be for it to not hallucinate, to struggle to get the actual intent, the context that we sort of assume as humans. And I think that, especially when it comes to data protection and privacy, is going to be a huge issue. We've already seen, I mean, Gemini CLI famously has just deleted someone's entire hard drive using CLI. Which has become a massive talking point. The Replit database has been deleted, and that went viral as well. So we've seen examples of where this can go wrong already, and browsers are just going to have even more opportunity for that sort of personal data to leak out and cause issues. So yeah, I would be really careful about agentic, especially in 2026.
Yeah, no, that's worrying, isn't it? My hard drive got deleted. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like my laptop's an extension of my brain. So like I'd be half the person. Lottie, did you have any thoughts on that one as well?
Yeah, so I guess like leading on from that, from the policy perspective, I think that's quite an interesting space, obviously rather complex and complicated one. But when you're looking at the what's acceptable and appropriate and the levels to which AI can be implemented from a legal and ethical perspective, that will vary depending on which region you are within the world. And because of the I guess, lack of continuity essentially between the different areas, that also then does lead to some interesting friction, I guess, because you're going to have some places where certain application or use is acceptable, or the way the data is being used is acceptable, versus somewhere else where actually that is no longer acceptable. And where that, how do you police that? How do you keep tabs on what's going on? Which I think again is going to be an interesting space, because if one place saying, we want to have quite strict rules in terms of how data can be used, that's fine. But if what you're putting out is out there, how do you then prevent someone else using that data to train their AI in another place where you have no control over what's going on? So yeah, I think that's going to be a tricky sort of area to navigate. And I think unfortunately there'll be elements of where things do go a little awry that's then going to bring more of those issues to the forefront, and then have to kind of potentially come to a more of an agreement more globally in terms of how that how we use AI data in a way that it actually is appropriate for the acknowledgement of people's own data, as well as kind of an ethical use of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Graham Bailey from Woodfalls, thank you for your question. This is coming to you, Charlotte. So, is it feasible in the age of AI doing searches for a small business to make any impact on Google or social media without paying large amounts of money?
Yes.
Good answer.
It's definitely feasible. I just think you need to maybe move away from thinking about budget size and more about signal strength. I think a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how AI, rewards clarity. So I think if you can really kind of strip back and focus on maybe one key conversion event, what your brand sort of value story is, really lean into zero and first party data where you can. These are all really clear inputs for AI to understand your brand positioning, then take that and scale as it sees fits and put you in front of the right audience.
Yeah, I think it depends as well what their customer journey looks like, doesn't it? Because if they know that they're quite strong and well known as a brand, then they could focus end of journey and try and kind of convert that person. But actually, if they're needing to do more brand-led stuff at the start to kind of be known, then they want to capture email addresses. You want to be able to take that person on a journey so you don't have to keep paying to see them along the journey. But yeah, I think there's definitely ways to do it though, aren't there? It's it's about being smart, and it's about understanding your audience, isn't it? The human side of it. So, oh, this could start a fight, couldn't it? This one. So this is Raf from Nord Anglia. Thank you, Raf. What do you see as more important this year, paid search or content for organic? I'm going to start with Charlotte, but I'm going to put this out to whoever wants to get involved.
Well,
No fisticuffs.
from SEO or digital PR on this panel, so I could just say give paid search or your budget. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to answer honestly. I don't think paid and organic are as distinct as they used to be. I think, as Becky was alluding to, search journeys have evolved so much that they're no longer these two distinct entities, like just two parts of the same engine. So it's a bit of an on the fence answer, but it's difficult to say which one you should prioritize without really knowing your overall goals as a brand and a business, your audience. But I think generally, I would say invest in writing and creating content that is machine readable and machine quotable, and then use paid to sort of amplify that and convert that demand would be my recommendation.
Yeah. Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I think I would say quite often it's easy to kind of leave, and imagine Charlotte would agree, leave like the website, once you've got through from a paid perspective, like the website's then its own thing. But actually the role of your paid media is to drive traffic, the relevant traffic to your website. So the content has to be correct. So there's no point sort of saying paid isn't performing when your website content is poor. You need to consider, what does that onward journey look like on the website? Make sure that's fit for purpose, regardless of whether they're coming through organic, paid, whatever channel they're coming through. It's actually that whole journey doesn't just stop when someone clicks onto the site. It's actually the whole journey in itself. And I think that's quite often overlooked. So I'd say I don't think you can plan your paid media without the content consideration. I think they have to come together because they are one journey. They're not going to just go through, I've clicked on my ad, now I'm off to do something else. That's not what they're doing. They're going through to the site and they're engaging with content or whatever it is they're doing on the site after they clicked on the ad.
Yeah, we've been saying it for years, haven't we? We've got to break these silos down. Like, it is so important that you're a marketing team. Like, I don't even want it to just be a digital marketing. We're a marketing team that understands the whole journey that a customer goes through. Kerry Thomas from Waverley Borough Council. Hi, Kerry. How to help users who are worried about how search is evolving, especially those who lack digital confidence. Lottie, have you got any thoughts on that one?
Well, so we've got our search polls. Of course, we're going to plug in there right now.
Yeah,
which
nice.
is a really nice like entry. I think even if you don't have vast experience in kind of search and have AI, what that is doing, I think it's a really nice way to kind of bring that together. Like it's quite an easy read, isn't it, really? So I think that's quite a nice opportunity for people to kind of come in and actually really understand what's going on. I think also, it can be quite daunting. So obviously from the work that we do, a lot of workshop based engagements, if you like, with brands, I think are really helpful because it enables people to come together in a place where they can ask questions and start to try and understand, like, what is the specific concerns people have, because then as a business you can look to address that, because otherwise there are lots of a myriad of different reasons why people might be worried, concerned. And actually I went to the University of Kent on Friday, and we were looking, one of the poster presentations they were doing was on AI and how that will sort of change people's roles. And a big area there was around exactly like, how do you know what the concerns and worries are of the individuals, because actually there's many different reasons, and it's about really understanding those and then kind of narrowing in on those and understanding, okay, well, now this is what you need to know, breaking it down in a way that makes it less scary, because then people are going to be more engaged and more willing to kind of look into in more detail.
We're in a really funny stage at the moment, aren't we? Because you've got some people that are really advanced in their understanding of AI and using everything and really kind of changing their behavior. And you'll have some people that are really resistant or unaware, just not really focused on it. So not really knowing that they could change their behavior. Like, I feel like my parents, me doing the job I do, like, I've got them straight in with ChatGPT, and they ask ChatGPT before they ask me now questions, like, more reliable source apparently. But it depends. Like, they're in their 70s. There'll be a lot of people in their 70s that are like, oh, I keep hearing this thing on the news about AI, but I don't know what it is. I don't know how to reach it, kind of thing. So yeah, I think, yeah, you have to understand your audience, don't you, and really try and put it in the context of them. There was a good one here. What was the one? I mean, they're all good, but there was one that I was going to go to next and I've lost it. Here we go. Is there one prediction? So this is Jackie Stevenson, Bailey of Bristol. Is there one prediction you think we should pay the most attention to in 2026, and what would it be? going to go down the line.
Go.
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
Matt.
I mean, I've been saying it for a while, so it's probably not new to anyone internally, but I think it's a really interesting time now where Google has finally started to get the momentum behind it in terms of what it's deploying, its ability to do things at scale, and actually that competition for OpenAI and ChatGPT is starting to show some cracks on their end. I mean, they're expected to lose 140 billion, something like that, by 2029, which, as an entirely new type of company, is obviously not something that we have experience knowing whether that's a good or a bad thing. There's huge amounts of investment. But then Google's coming up and deploying higher quality in a lot of metrics. It's delivering faster speed, better scale in terms of what you can actually use with it for Gemini, for all of their Vertex AI, all of the deployment solutions they have. They've got agentic coding. It's just a huge breadth that comes from their experience in data and machine learning. But that's all then attached, and I think this is the key bit, to a company that's not expected to lose 140 billion, but is making 30 billion in profit every quarter. So that's what, 600 billion by the same period that you're expecting OpenAI to lose money. And as an investment opportunity, as a way to look at sort of the future and the trajectory, one of those seems a lot more attractive to me personally. So I think we will just continue to see that be reinforced next year, year after, through until either something changes massively or Google just sort of outpaces everybody else.
Interesting. Charlotte, thoughts on that?
Mine's going to be very paid specific, obviously.
Obviously, I would expect nothing else.
I would have said, I think previously it was very easy to sort of map channels to stages in the user journey. Very easily we could say, oh, you know, programmatic and upper funnel social is where we drive awareness, and it's sort of Google brand search for conversion. It doesn't work like that anymore. It's no longer that linear. We can't make those clear delineations. So I think we need to be adapting our strategies for that. You know, we're seeing conversions happen within TikTok now. We're seeing inspiration happen on Google search, and we have to be adapting our strategy for that and make sure that we've got the ad formats, the assets, and the creative to support all stages of the funnel on all channels.
Yeah, no, love that. Mike, where are you going?
Unsurprisingly on technology.
Good.
It's having a fundamental platform, I think, to work well with these models and how they search. So the way that AI searches your websites is it looks for semantic markup. It needs to have an understanding of how the page is made, and traditional CMSs will just typically be a blob of HTML kind of all meshed together. More modern technologies will be able to semantically articulate that a lot better, which means that the agents and the models are able to understand the meaning of the content a lot better. So it's able to basically rank higher because it understands the meaning of those websites better. So I think fundamentally making sure that you've got the right technology underneath to move towards whatever we don't know as well that's happening next.
Nice. And Lottie?
Yes, I'm trying to think which one to go for. So I think it'll be interesting around kind of the opening up, I guess, of maybe market insights for smaller brands, because historically it's been perceived as being quite an expensive investment to do that work. But I think everyone here would agree that it's vital, really, for you to be able to understand what's going on with the audience. So I think the efficiencies that can be brought in, and to an extent, the application of certain insights you can maybe get via AI rather than maybe more expensive, sort of time-consuming processes that maybe were sort of typically used before, I think means that we'll hopefully see more and more smaller brands as well, like getting the most essentially out of understanding who their audience is and actually be able to grow their brands in a more effective way than potentially they were before.
Nice, like it. Okay, cool. Very good. So Gemma Palmer from Simply Business, and I'm going to come to you with Matt on this one. What tools are companies using as a source of truth to find ranking and AIO visibility?
It's a really interesting question because I think it's sort of based on a predicate that we are translating traditional SEO and traditional performance marketing into the AI world. And actually, there's a real disconnect in how those work. And certainly with a lot of clients we talk to, this concept of ranking in AI is something that they really want to do. They hear about it a lot. And actually, we need to sort of have that conversation with them about there's no such thing as ranking in AI because it's not deterministic. So Google search has an index, Bing has an index, and that is literally a ranking of here's the top 10 things to return. Doesn't exist in AI. So I think when you're looking for a source of truth, it's built on a bed of sand in most cases. So any platform that you look at, you need to very carefully distinguish, actually, is this some sort of fake vanity metric, or is this something that's solid that I can actually influence and change? So there's lots of tools and platforms out there for measuring and tracking prompt responses and AI overviews. So stuff like AccuAnchor, SEMrush, Ahrefs, all the traditional stuff for SEO tends to try and push into that stuff as well. But I would also look at doing it yourself, sort of put yourself in the shoes of the user, because quite often that can give you the kind of non-deterministic results that your user is likely to see, essentially random, affected by the slightest change in word choice in your search or your prompt. And another key thing there is actually when you're tracking your prompts, you might not be tracking the same thing that you were tracking in an SEO tool, because people aren't asking AI the same questions that they're asking Google search. It's not best trainers under 100 pounds. It's, can you find me the best trainers that are white and have these things? It's much more conversational. So actually tracking that consistently is much, much more difficult. So yeah, I would be really careful, but look into something that can do that at scale to try and give you a bit more of a foundation.
And then this question that's come in as a live one, Naomi at EDF Energy, thank you so much. And we've got two questions from you. I will try and get to them both. But the first one I thought was an interesting one, because I think this is going to be very opinion based and we might all have some views on this. But what are your thoughts on job role title adaptations? So she keeps seeing SEOs changing their roles to be AEO, GEO, all of the EOs, yeah, focus, and companies thinking it is a starkly different role. Do you think SEO roles will turn into a wider title, so search and generative optimization, or do you think it will remain as SEO? What do we think? Because that is a good prediction to try and have.
And talk on that one as well. I mean, I used to work in SEO, and things have obviously changed in terms of what that job role looks like. But I think fundamentally it is still SEO. I mean, if we think about the word, it's search engine optimization. If people are using a different search engine that's powered by AI, that's still SEO to me. And I know that's potentially controversial in terms of the language. People are very excited, very hyped about calling it something new and inventing this whole new paradigm. And I think most of that is driven by the fact that we've just gotten so used to Google being the only focus, because it has 90+% of the market. And actually, SEOs who are sort of looking towards the future have already been looking at different platforms like Bing. They've been looking at Reddit. They've been looking at the kinds of things that maybe have sat in the margins for quite a while, but are increasingly becoming interesting because you look at the different platforms. So yeah, I don't think job roles actually are changing. I just think that the market is changing, and what you have as your best practice and the things that you should do is potentially shifting away from do SEO for Google, get something to the top of Google. So yeah, I don't think it's a different thing necessarily.
No. The industry does love a different job title though, doesn't it? I mean, any other thoughts, or I feel like you've answered it quite nicely. Yeah, it's
common ground.
all of the acronyms, which actually though, but you touched on Microsoft and Bing there, which is going to bring me to a question from Meredith from VioVet. So thank you for your question. What action can be taken to optimize for Microsoft now that it is so closely aligned with OpenAI? So coming to you, Charlotte, on that one.
Yes, Microsoft is stepping into the limelight.
Yeah.
For so long it was just the annoying little brother of Google, and now it's like it's no longer a secondary search engine. It's a whole different intent environment, which I think is a really exciting opportunity. I think what we're seeing with the integration with OpenAI is the focus now needs to be, again, similar to Google, but less on the individual keyword and more on answer quality as a whole. So leaning into conversational searches more, as Matt was saying, not terms anymore, but more tasks and questions and discussion kind of prompts and starters. First-party signals, again, the more we can upload these into the platform, the better. So directly connect to your CRM, be uploading those audience lists, because that's what the AI is going to be reading as kind of intent signals and understanding that qualified intent. And then test Copilot ad formats where we can. So Copilot being the AI assistant, you can access those ad formats via traditional ad formats, but Microsoft now have their own version of PMax. And if you are going to test that, I'd recommend uploading a real variety of high quality image assets, because the more we can give the engine, the more likely it's going to be able to pull together a tailored and super relevant sort of ad and response to the user. So keep that engine fed, I would say.
Definitely. And how much focus then is Bing needing and Microsoft needing? It's not Bing anymore, is it? So old. Like, what is wrong with me? Microsoft needing, if it's kind of advancing in its importance, and then if they're adding more and more functionality, because there was a time where it was almost like make it for Google and then it'll kind of work on Bing, and it wasn't that important. But actually, are people needing to split their time more and think more about their strategy for Microsoft?
I think so. And I think the other advantage that Microsoft has is you can tap into LinkedIn audiences. So for B2B marketers, particularly, you can reach a whole new targeted audience via Microsoft that you can't necessarily exclusively drill down and target on Google. So depending on your vertical and what your goals are, it could be that actually there's a case to invest more in Microsoft because of the types of audiences you can reach and narrow down to.
Interesting. I like it. So then, Ricky from Intellect. Hello, Ricky. How are you? I hope you are well. He's come to us with the question, what are your top content on-site optimization strategies for targeting humans, search engines, and LLMs in 2026? And I'm going to start with you, Matt, on that one.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I don't think that there's any sort of silver bullet solution to it. And I think that's something that increasingly is becoming clear, is that it's very unique to the specific market, the specific industry, your users, your audience, what's actually going to work. There are some general rules, and I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone that EEAT, so expertise, authority, experience, and trustworthiness, those are core signals that AI uses just as much as Google does. Partly because Google is using AI to assess those signals. So I think anything that can sort of indicate that you are the person to listen to is really important. So you're looking at sort of citations, quotations, statistics, author bios, all of the traditional stuff there. And I think there's a study from Princeton that's showing that those are the most reliable uptick signals for inclusion in AI results. I think also sort of reassessing the way that we talk and actually making it a bit more opaque, because traditionally marketing has been very much about trying to associate, trying to infer, trying to sort of connect your brand to something. Whereas actually these days, because we're talking to not just humans, but also AI bots, we need to be a bit more opaque, and actually stating the obvious can be a really valuable thing as well. So there's a concept called semantic triples, which is subject, object, predicate, i.e. Matt works for Reflect Digital. And stating things in that order is the way that AI can easily connect those things together and start to build that knowledge and understanding. So while we might avoid sort of very simple sentences and very simple language, traditionally, actually, that can be quite valuable to do. And equally, don't be afraid to sort of be really opaque and really obvious in the structure. So you'll see a lot of buying guides on really big, successful websites putting why you should trust us as a heading, and then a whole schema about how they test the products, how they assess it, what their experience is. Literally just giving a space and a blob of information to the AI to say, this is why we are showing these signals. So something like that, I think, is a really valuable thing to at least test.
Interesting. Is there a world where we're going to end up with a version of content that is for the agents versus the one that's for the humans?
It's something that sort of more on the black hat side of SEO has already been testing. It's very distinctly against Google's terms of service to show one thing to crawlers and a different thing to users. I think what we might see, maybe not next year, but over the next sort of 5-10 years, is that it does become that. And actually the value to AI is very different if you give it something that's easy readable. We've seen LLMs.txt become sort of a guerrilla marketing tactic. There's no evidence that that's actually used by AI crawlers at all. So I don't think it's doing anything. But that idea of, can I present my information in a clear and obvious way to AI that maybe users don't have to sift through or don't have to read or enjoy that content in different format, that concept is going to become something that we do.
It makes sense, doesn't it? It's like we've always had our robots file that tells the robots what they need to know. So it's like, well, why wouldn't we? But yeah, while it's against guidelines, we absolutely shouldn't be doing it. But obviously guidelines get updated as technology changes. So leading on from that, so I'm going to help answer this question because I caught up with Joe earlier, who's our head of content and digital PR, because we had a question in from Dan at Radium, who said, how do you see PR evolving in 2026 with many press releases drafted through AI? Is it losing its human touch? So I'm going to consult my notes because Jo sent me loads of notes because she actually had just been chatting with some of the journalists that we work with about this, because I think she's got a write-up coming up. So there'll be more on our blog about this, I'm sure. But actually, one of the journalists, the main thing she said back to Jo was, as AI becomes more commonly used, it's more important than ever not to rely on AI when you reach out to journalists. AI written emails and releases fill up my inbox and they all read very similar to each other. Plus, I know it's written by a robot. It isn't very personal or trustworthy. Stick to writing emails yourself without AI and you'll stand out. So Jo then said that she completely agrees with this, but she said there's a couple of ways that AI can help us. Like, it can help speed up the content process. So first drafts, headline ideas, editing, but you need that human tone to be in there, which we all know. Monitoring, so tools like Meltwater will catch spikes in mentions or conversations, which you might miss otherwise. So that can really help you work out what you should be focusing on. And then outreach, you can use it to help analyze journalists' behavior. So we're not going to use it to write our email to the journalist, but if it can help us pick up on things that they normally cover and angles they tend to take and help you tailor something that, again, could have taken you a couple of hours to go and do that manual research, but instead it can help you have the right outreach, then making sure it's human, it can really help. So she's also put being creative will stand out too. So using AI prompts to help with your strategy for campaigns based on what people want, not just what journalists are looking for. So using AI to trawl platforms that again would take you hours to do and getting it to bring back ideas and research. So I think it definitely has a place with digital PR. And I think digital PR is becoming more and more important. It gives that kind of real human nod to what you're doing, providing you do it right. But I think it's going to be harder and harder to get coverage because these poor journalists are being inundated. Same as, like, I think I was chatting the other day with some recruiters. Recruiters are being inundated because people can just hit the AI button and they end up sending off their CV and their personalized covering note. And it's the same journalists are getting the same kind of attack of a wall of content coming at them. So standing out is going to be really, really important, which leads on actually nicely. Where did I see this? So Tom from New Role. Hi, Tom. Lovely to see you. Virtually, obviously, I can't actually see you. But he's got a question which I think Lottie might like, because you kind of alluded to this earlier, Lottie. So what are the opportunities for LLMs to make market research, segmentation, and generally understanding the buyer more efficient, lower cost, and more insightful?
Definitely. So AI, I think that is a really good opportunity from an efficiency perspective, and to be able to analyze data potentially for large volumes of data that maybe it's more challenging to do that, with a caveat that obviously it's making sure that the AI that you're using to do that has been validated, you're validating the insights that it's producing. I think that is something that you do find if you do try and use AI to analyze data, there can be challenges with that for using the likes of sort of ChatGPT or whatever, Gemini, etc. So just to caveat that. But if you're going down the route of kind of an established like product that has been tested and that you're confident in how that's processing the data, there's as I mentioned already, like there's going to be opportunities there to lower costs because some of these things are time consuming. So, for example, kind of analysing maybe some of your survey data, for example, would be a really good opportunity to kind of integrate AI into that. Reviewing some of the kind of the questions potentially you're writing for surveys, although I would say there's still a real need for human element in there to really get to the crux of like why a question might be particularly pertinent, which might not be immediately obvious just because we know the types of people that we're asking the questions of, which again is something that AI potentially isn't, certainly not yet at a point where it would be able to do that. For things like interviews, there are already programs out there on both sides. You can have synthetic users who represent people, so you can ask them questions as if they were your target audience, which can be quite efficient from a cost perspective if you are having to acquire a lot of people to do the research with, or if it's a particularly niche set of people that you want to speak to, that there's not a lot of people available. So there is an opportunity there, both from efficiency and potentially kind of scalability as well. But you've also got opportunities there to use synthetic interviewers as well. So you'll have real people being interviewed by AI. These programs, if you're using proper businesses, will obviously be clear that they are AI who are interviewing the individuals. But again, these are the sorts of technology that's coming out there. I think when you're exploring anything like that, it is the kind of the ethical use of it, the accuracy, how they've actually tested it, how the programs are working, etc., that I would still stress is super important, because it's really easy for us to think, oh, we can do that. But actually, if you have a go yourself, you'll quickly realise that there's a lot that comes in the background of these programs, and make sure that you're confident and comfortable with the business that you're engaging with, particularly because there's so many that are popping up. It's easy for anyone to create a business and say, oh, yeah, I've done this, but unless you're validating the data, I'd say you're risky, a bit of a risky bet to just kind of go in with a business that maybe hasn't got the credentials, because it's also new. So I think that's just something to bear in mind. But lots and lots of different opportunities there to start to look at ways to create more efficiencies using AI.
Definitely, and some interesting products probably coming from us, which might help with that as well. Again, needing to do that research first, but then to help you. So watch this. Obviously, that leads in, like when you know their audience, you then can personalize more. So, Mike, coming to you, a question from Peter at Paperstone. Thank you, Peter. Which tools are proving most effective for personalization?
So going back to the personalisation side, it's been the silver bullet that's never really materialised. I think over years we've been trying to personalise for a long time. I think also the hype around hyper personalised AI experiences hasn't quite come to fruition yet. So I think hopefully next year we'll start to see AI understanding intent on users as they're experiencing, exploring the website, to understand where they're going to, what kind of things are they spending, dwelling on, what kind of products are they looking at, and then being able to reactively change the website as we go through it to serve up the better products. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think in terms of, again, it depends massively on what you do as a business. If you're e-com, obviously you've got access to a lot more data, and obviously data helps when it comes to personalization. If you're a brochureware, it's a lot harder to give any kind of intent. So if you're looking at e-com, obviously there's big players in terms of the likes of Optimizely and Bloomreach, in terms of whether it's email marketing, or just heavy engineering around understanding kind of how your users are doing that. And these are programs that either can run within their own platform, or can be plugged in. But obviously it depends what your ambitions are and how deep your pockets are, because some of these are very expensive solutions. Things like Algolia are great because they can be a plug-in to an e-com search engine. They can give you a much more comprehensive search engine that's kind of a vector database that understands, again, the intent. It can be linked into your kind of existing kind of search history. So again, it can start to personalize and give recommendations. And it's often a much more comprehensive search than what you get out of the box e-commerce engine. But then working all the way down to kind of the WordPress plugins that can work with WooCommerce, so things like, I think it's I can't remember the name of it. It's like Lighthop, I think it is, that allows you to have a much more kind of mechanical conditional logic. So if they're coming via this channel, then start to surface this data, or if they're looking at this, and it's a lot more clunky, but again, it starts to move you in that direction. So it really depends on your platform, what you're trying to do. But I think ultimately you need to do all of this thinking about kind of what's the benefit to the customer, what you're trying to do, because there's this fear of personalization. It goes over the edge and becomes creepy, and it starts to be like, well, how do they know that? But I think it's understanding what you're trying to surface, what benefit is it to them, and then trying to find a tool that fits within your stack and your budget.
Definitely. Really nice answer. Question, and so the second one that came in from Naomi at EDF, I said I'd try and get there. I'm there. It's quite a long one. And I think, to give you a heads up, this is going to probably be a Matt question, but if anyone else has some thoughts, we're kind of leaning into SEO, AIO, all of the EOs. So do you think there will be some changes in AI responses, whether AIO or LLMs, for queries relating to your money, your life? So I work in a heavily regulated industry, energy, and have found that there are a lot of issues in responses as we have to word things in certain ways for compliance. Recently, I've seen some queries trigger an old-time featured snippet, not an AI response, especially around costs. Do you think there will be an update in future where your money, your life query results are safeguarded to prevent misinformation and dangers to the user? Really good question.
Fundamentally, I think it's a challenge with the technology that's being used. So AI, you can use technology like RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, to try and ground it in fact. I don't think we've ever reached the point with Google search that even it can understand what is a YMYL and what isn't a YMYL query in terms of especially health has always been a challenge. So I think it will always be a struggle. I think what we've seen is traditionally there's almost a hesitance to try and attempt to train AI to be good at this kind of thing, because it opens the company up to, oh, you tried to do this and you failed. So classic examples are like glue on pizza being an AI overview as a recommendation, or have you tried eating rocks, and like all of that stuff. It's not quite YMYL, but it's because there wasn't that push to include YMYL data in the training sets. ChatGPT 5 and 5.1, though, was the first time that they actively bought a whole bunch of data sets around health, about medical information, to try and at least sort of stymie the wound and stop it from producing such ridiculous answers. I think that also has its own challenges, though, because people are much better at determining whether something is wrong if it's very obviously wrong, whereas actually some of the danger might be in the subtle wrongness, as you say, like the specific wording for compliance. I think that's going to be a challenge. What I would also say is that it's not necessarily anything that businesses themselves can directly influence, because it's going to be a challenge that comes from whoever's surfacing that information, how they process it, what their model of choice does to it. And certainly as these businesses try and become profitable, I think we'll see the trend tends to be start with a good product and make a loss, and then work out how to make it cheaper and worse later. I think that's the trend we'll eventually start to get to, where actually once people are aware that they can't trust it, and there's maybe even court precedents on you can't be charged if it says something wrong because people are assumed to sort of check it themselves, that's when we'll see it actually get worse potentially. So yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be solved personally.
No, it's a real tricky one, isn't it? It's really tricky. But I suppose it's almost like if AI is acting like your friend that you've just asked a question to, you can't make sure that they say things in a compliant way, etc. But I suppose it's the customer's perception of thinking, if that then links off to EDF for deeper details, but it's misinterpreted it and not said it how they'd want to say it. It's almost like the customer might think, well, that's what EDF said, but it's not. So
exactly. Best thing, as I said earlier, is to try and be really opaque, really clear, use semantic triples, and be a little bit boring, because I think that's what's going to win.
yeah.
It's about like monitoring it. I think so. If you yourself know where that's occurring, then there's an opportunity potentially for you to address that, or at least be aware of that information, and then you can deal with it, rather than if you're not necessarily keeping an eye on that whilst you can't control it. It's just ignorance isn't the defense, really, is it? It's about, you know that's potentially an issue, therefore as a business there's an element of responsibility of keeping account of what is being said, how the data is being interpreted, and then what is there that you potentially could do in order to ensure that that doesn't resurface, if that's the case of kind of removing it or adjusting the phrasing of that on the site in order for it to be even more clear.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's an interesting world we're in, isn't it? Or we're getting close to us needing to go to feedback, but I've got some good questions. Or Charlotte, just a quick snippet on. So this sort of was from Keris at Amron Architectural. How to get more social media visibility? I mean, I've said a quick answer. I don't.
No, I love this question actually. I could talk about social media for days. I think for smaller businesses on social, where you should really focus is just being on irresistibly useful to your customers. Social is such a visual channel. It's a very cozy channel where people are happy to kind of sit down and spend time scrolling and swiping and searching. Like you have your audience's time to play with, which is great. So I would advise treating your socials almost like a mood board or like a Pinterest vision board for your customers. So for you guys in particular, I can see things like, well, what I would invest in actually is a really high quality photography and videography. So showcase the transformational results of your products, the end results, loads of videos showing, products in use and what people have done with them. And then anything that is kind of resonating well with your native audience, test putting some paid budget behind it, boost it, target architects, designers, fabricators, test just teasing it out into discovery feeds, kind of seeing what lands. Don't lose your brand identity by trying to hop on trends or jump onto the next kind of bandwagon, because building that kind of authenticity over time is what's really going to win for smaller businesses. And I think just generally, the more targeted and the tailored that you can be, the better. The focus shouldn't be on reaching absolutely everyone, but it should be on becoming the obvious choice for those that you do reach. I'd say.
Love that. Really good. I'm gonna do one really quick one. I'm the tech team. I'm not looking at them because they'll tell me off. Just because I think this is important, Mike, and we were talking about this around like we keep talking about it, and I keep hearing more and more about headless websites. Where does that fit into this, and how important is it?
It's at the moment, as I said, looking at how LLMs use and look at websites at the moment, the fundamental structure is important. I think the biggest thing with composability and headless moving forward is it's a flexible system to deal with what we don't know yet. When you're looking at the likes of WordPress, the likes of some of these old monolith systems, adapting that to a future of whether it is serving different channels to LLMs, how we're able to do that. Things like publishing content, so like Index Now for Microsoft, being able to send a signal to Microsoft saying, I've got some new content, like read it, whereas Google obviously will, at the moment doesn't adopt it, but that will just crawl your website. Being able to send it and say, I've got a new page, new content, like go and do that. You can't do that as easily with things like WordPress. So having a system that is fundamentally all about the content and pushing that content out, I think is just, it's set up and it's more flexible and scalable for the future for the things that we don't know yet, but also it's kind of well placed at the moment.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so we are about to go to feedback. So you lovely people at home, you're going to have 2 minutes to fill in our feedback, and we really, really appreciate it. We read everything you say and we take it into account. Before you go, though, remember we're going to get to find out how many times we've said that word, and I have no idea, but I think it's high. Like our finance director might not be that happy, especially if you guys help us double it. So I hope you have been keeping track. The killer question that we're going to have afterwards as well to also whet your appetite for this comes from the lovely Shannon at Great Influence. Hi, Shannon. Her question is, what prediction do you have for 2026 that you think will be most unexpected within the industry? Okay, so we're going to get some unexpected predictions as we finish. Thank you so much for your feedback. Right, to that killer question. So what prediction do you have for 2026 that you think will be most unexpected within the industry? I'm going to go down the line. So Matt.
I think we're in an era of sort of hype at the moment with AI, and everyone's very focused on the fact that they're investing in each other and actually there must be an AI bubble and it's all going to pop. I think the unexpected prediction is that it won't pop and that it will keep going. I think certainly from the perspective of like an investor, this is a winner takes all kind of technology if they reach their target goal of AGI. So I think it's almost sort of like the lottery ticket that investors with a lot of money are putting money behind. So I don't think it's going to pop. And I think people are just going to hold on and hope.
Keep going with AI then. Yeah, keep putting the pounds in. Charlotte.
This is going to sound maybe a bit counterintuitive given all the kind of technical evolution and progress that we've seen over the last few years. But I actually think that what that has led to is a lot of noise, a lot of messiness, a lot of different tools being used in all different places, almost trying to measure too many events, sometimes target too many different audiences. In some instances, we've ended up with like quite a lot of botched Frankenstein reporting with lots of multiple sources of truth. So I think actually the brands that do well in 2026 are going to be the ones that can kind of strip everything back and not fall kind of by the wayside and get distracted by all these kind of new tools and AI trends, and actually really focus on what is at the core. So who your priority customer is, what the roots of your brand are, what you're actually trying to do, and minimizing and kind of streamlining those KPIs. So I think simplifying the marketing setup overall is what's going to be actually quite successful next year.
Love it. So the AI bubble isn't popping. Clean it up. Mike with the lights on.
Jazz hands. So I would say focus, and this is probably unexpected because it goes against what you were saying earlier, and it's probably a little bit ambitious to say in 12 months, but the creation of zero UI interfaces, and my UX team will probably hate me for this, but understanding that we're surfacing data for an AI, so maybe an AI agent needs to make a booking on a site. We understand and we build beautiful interfaces for people because we understand that humans aren't rational, that we make decisions for a whole number of reasons. We build a complex UI for that, but robots are rational. They're based on price and availability. How can we create a no UI version for them to be able to make bookings or do whatever it is on a website that doesn't need them to fall through a human first kind of interface?
Interesting. I like that. I think there's going to be two routes, isn't there? The human route, the agent route.
So-
But also, depending on where the agent needs to break to check back in with their human, they might need some of the fluff still that goes, well, you could money back guarantee or things like that, because the human might want to know before you push pay.
Exactly, yeah.
So, oh, it's such an exciting one. Lottie.
I think from a business perspective, I think we'll see maybe a little bit more skepticism coming in, for particularly new tools. So I think, that at the moment it's like, yeah, everything looks great, but actually I think people are going to start to realise actually there's going to be those brands that are doing a really good job of what they're producing and those that are potentially just kind of riding the waves of the others. And I think we'll start to see actually businesses understanding that. And just on a consumer perspective, I was reading something the other day about this kind of the whole concept of trends and how actually, people aren't, brands aren't necessarily going to be jumping on all those trends as much as they had done previously, because there's a lack of authenticity there. It's like, well, actually, it's not something that we've done. We're just jumping on it with everybody else. So I think that'd be interesting to see. Do we still have that same response from brands? And maybe they'll still be there, but it will maybe be a smaller pool of brands rather than it just being more blanketed.
Love it. Some really good thoughts. You've been amazing panelists. So now's the moment. How many times did we say it? So before we tell you, in the chat box, so we have got Erin. Erin's on a mic as well, is she? Erin can talk to us. She's coming in live. Here is Erin. Hi, Erin.
I'm here.
So people can put in the chat box now how many times they think we said, and this one doesn't count, the word AI. Let's the suspense. I feel like we need a drum roll. We should
We've
have
got 30, 45, 30, 37, 43.
Anyone
Not there, a
getting
little
it
bit
right?
higher. 50. Do you want me to reveal the answer?
Yeah, has anyone got it right? No one's got it right.
Bear with
It's
me.
funny because I know it was higher than those guesses.
These are all quite low. The answer is, drum roll, final count, 70 times.
Oh my word, 70. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we said it a lot. So if you didn't come to a webinar wanting to hear about AI, I'm very sorry, because that's what happened. Oh, no one guessed it right. I reckon we're probably double the money anyway, though. It feels like the right thing to do. At least we got you to pay attention. But I just think, but it's for the children, isn't it? To save the children. So, incredible. Thank you for joining us. Now, as I said at the start, you can get your name down now for a brunch box. So we have our Search Pulse Q4 Brunch and Learn happening on the 14th of Jan. So we're just finalising the report. There's some really interesting insights going into that. So we will be sharing everything that we found in the last quarter, some data, some surprising twists and turns. The report will be out early January, and then you can join us on the 14th for us to talk all about it. But that leads me to just say thank you. I know a lot of you join us for all of these, so thank you so much for joining us throughout the year. And I really hope you've enjoyed today's session. You can connect with all of our panelists. If you've asked a question and we didn't get to answer it, we will pop you an email back. But just thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the year. Enjoy that festive season, parties and everything that's going on. And we look forward to seeing you in 2026. Thank you so much.